GM, everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today is Thursday, the 28th of November. Let's get straight into the price action. And we can see after our video yesterday, and obviously me putting this path in, we can see the Bitcoin is currently following this path fairly well. We've seen the bounce. We're starting to come back off a little bit here. At the moment, as long as we stay above, call it sort of 94,500, I'm not too concerned. And what we might begin to see is some consolidation and actually another pop up. And it could be that the low is in on this pullback. Certainly, if we get above yesterday's high, I'll be confident that the low's in. We'll do some more short-term time frame analysis shortly. But just in terms of this path right now, after yesterday's bounce and the fact that it was quite strong, it is very reasonable that either the low is already in or we actually see this move come down, come slightly under 90,000, put in a bit of a sweep of this low, and then we start to reverse from there. So things are looking fairly encouraging at the moment. I'm still expecting Bitcoin to at least challenge 100,000 again, and likely take out 100,000 by the end of the year. That is my big call. And the other big call is that I do not see Bitcoin coming much deeper than 87,000. Of course, anything can happen. I'd be doing you a disservice if I could tell you precisely exactly what is going to happen all of the time, because nobody knows with any certainty. But of course, as traders, we have to play to probabilities. I think right now the highest probability scenario is that we potentially come back down and we make one more sweep of this low, as going as low as 87,000, and then we see big buying start to step in. That means a lot of people that are calling for moves back down to the 70,000 region, CME gap fills, 20%, 30% crashes, they're going to get front run. And I'm afraid bull markets, the vast majority of the time, especially crypto bull markets, Bitcoin bull markets, prices just run away from people and they are left sidelined again and again. And they end up having to chase in and chase prices higher because they keep on waiting for corrections and bigger corrections that just do not happen. So, of course, it's a possibility that we do correct. I do think there will be a larger 20 to 30% pullback in Bitcoin, but it's unlikely to be from this level. And we'll quickly look at some other data just to support this. So here we have the liquidation heat maps. We can see we have some liquidity built up just above the 90,000 area. So this is why I'm thinking to myself, look, if price does come down, we might get a sweep of this liquidity before going higher. I think if that does happen, it will probably start to happen today. That move will probably start to happen today. So we'll start to fail around the sort of like the 95, 94,500 area. And then we'll probably come down fairly quickly. I would have thought either this week or early next week, take out this liquidity, like I say, potentially spiking as low as 87 and then a reversal higher. Of course, what we might do is if we can get above the high from yesterday over the next day, I do actually think that Bitcoin will have a good chance at making its way up to 100,000 sooner. But look, I've kind of said this, I think it was yesterday or the day before, that Bitcoin typically bottoms out early on in the month. We have that bear moon. I know it sounds like hocus pocus, but we have that bear moon that typically comes in on the first couple of days of the month. The next one's actually going to come in this weekend on Saturday. So I'm thinking to myself, look, we might get this retest. We might get some more consolidation over the next few days, just up until that happens. And then it could be that December starts and after a couple of days into September, the low for September's in, or sorry, December, sorry. The low for December's in, and then it might well be that we're off to the races and we have another bullish month in December. And like I say, I think one of the other things supporting the fact that I don't think we're going to get necessarily a really big pullback is if we just look at firstly, if we look at the Bitcoin monthly returns, so scrolling down here, you can see that historically, December is a really bullish month. November's historically very bullish. I mean, this is a real outlier here. But we've had in line with 2017 in line with 2020, we've had a really bullish month for November, which is encouraging to see. So Bitcoin up 35% at the time of speaking. And December is usually a bullish month as well. So December tends to be 5% average return. Okay. But if we isolate these two more bullish years, so if we look at, say, for example, halving years, we saw 46.9% back in 2020. And if we go back to 2016, we saw a 30.8% move. So obviously, if we look at the halving years, we can see that Bitcoin usually does really, really well in those halving years. And if we look at then January of the post-halving year, we can see in 2021 we're up 14%. 2017 we saw basically a flat January. So I'm thinking to myself that, probably we see some good gains in December. Potentially in January, things might sort of cool off. I mean, on average, we're up 3%. And then February and March, and really into April, sometimes into May, tend to be pretty strong months. So I think we're in for a pretty strong end of this year and a fairly strong sort of Q1 of next year. And also supporting this is the Bitcoin quarterly returns. So Bitcoin, historically, its strongest quarter is quarter four. So that's where we are currently today. If we look at quarter one, we can see that quarter one is Bitcoin's second strongest quarter. So again, I'm expecting Q4, Q1 to be strong. Now, of course, we can get dips, we can get sell-offs. It's likely that we probably see a 20%, potentially 25, 30% correction throughout this period between now and the end of quarter one. The question is, when's it going to happen? What is going to be the catalyst that's going to cause that? And I'm still leaning towards this big event that we know about in January, which is when Trump goes into office. And obviously, officially, he then becomes president. We know that the market has been bullish ever since Trump won the election. And I kind of think that would be a good event for a lot of headlines to come out, a lot of over exuberant behavior, a lot of FOMO, a lot of overexcitement to come into the market. Trump's into office. He's going to pump our bags. He's going to start buying Bitcoin, strategic reserve. Let's go. And then we see the market start to come down after he comes in, when everybody is max long, flushes out the market, and then throughout the rest of Q1, we start to recover and we go higher again. That's kind of what I'm thinking in terms of timeframes. So the other thing, whilst I'm here and wanted to mention, and this is something I've referenced before, and this also is why I'm starting to get more bullish on altcoins, especially Ethereum right now, is because typically Ethereum has its strongest quarter in Q1. So strongest quarter for Bitcoin is Q4. Strongest quarter for Ethereum is Q1. And actually, its second strongest quarter is in Q2. So you have Bitcoin having its strongest quarter as Q4 and then second strongest as Q1. Ethereum's actually lagging behind by a quarter. So for me, it's very, very reasonable to expect Ethereum to begin to outperform from January, probably into summer next year. And this is why I've been bullish on Ethereum and why I've been saying on practically every morning update that I've done, every GM stream that I've done, that I expect Ethereum to catch up Bitcoin. For me, Ethereum is currently the catch-up play. And obviously, we're starting to see that. We are starting to see Ethereum move up and start to make some ground on Bitcoin. And like I say, right now, I said I'd go down to slightly shorter time frame. I'm just going to sort of zoom in a little bit on what Bitcoin's doing on the hourly. And as we can see, we had, let's get a support line on here. So if we look at sort of where we kind of broke down from, this is on Monday, we can see that after we got below, call it this 94.9 area, that's really where we sort of broke through. We came back, we retested it, we came back, we nearly got there again. And this is quite a clear level here of support and resistance. It was also resistance on the way up before we broke through. So that's a pretty clear level. This is a level that for me, if Bitcoin is going to continue to consolidate at the upper half of this range, you can see we're starting to develop a bit of a trading range here between our 99,000 and our, call it 91,000, then you'd want to see, obviously the midpoint of that is 95,000, right? So you want to see this midpoint, this 95,000 hold. And I think this is a pretty good level to kind of base our decisions off over the next couple of days. I think if we lose this 50% level, Bitcoin comes down and it resweeps the lows down here at 91,000, potentially down to 90,000. If Bitcoin's able to stay above, potentially we grind higher to the top half of this range and we spend our time potentially consolidating in the top half of this range into December. And then, like I say, first few days of December, I'm expecting probably the December low to come in. And then from there, I expect Bitcoin likely has another go to break out of 100,000 next month. So that's my analysis on Bitcoin. If we just flip over to Ethereum and let's get on the Ethereum daily chart, then we can see here that Ethereum's been fairly strong over the last day. Obviously, we had the breakout yesterday, making its way up to 3,680. And like I say, my target has been this descending trend line. Obviously, this is our descending trend line from the last bull market high to the current cycle high. So yes, I'm expecting Ethereum to make its way up to this trend line over the next day or two. And it probably consolidates there, if I'm honest with you. Of course, we might consolidate here and push up here in December. But I think to myself that likely when Bitcoin breaks 100,000, that is when Ethereum is likely to break out from this descending trend line. So that's the analysis on Ethereum. Just looking at Solana here, so we can see Solana is still pulling back currently. It is rejecting off its previous all-time high, and well, we're starting to see some consolidation at its highs. So I expect that Solana will probably grind it out here, likely to consolidate over the next few days and likely gets ready for a breakout. So it likely breaks out when Bitcoin breaks out and the rest of the market breaks out. So Solana's still looking strong. If we just look at Pepe, we can see that Pepe has come back down. Like I say, it retested the level that I was talking about on this chart. So it went into this box here, and we seem to be bouncing fairly nicely for now. So potentially Pepe, I think, probably grinds this area out and then makes for a try at new all-time highs when Bitcoin gets back to 100,000. I think that will likely be the trigger for Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana to all start to break out. So these breakouts likely happen next month, if I had to guess. Just taking a quick look here at the DXY, so we can see the DXY has started to reverse. So like I say, right now, the level on the dollar that I'm expecting to really signal a reversal would be below this 106.1 level. So let's see what happens on the dollar over the next few days. Potentially, if we do get this breakdown, that will signal a real sort of risk-on environment for risk assets going into the end of the year. We can see the S&P consolidating currently at all-time highs. And yeah, for me, it looks ready to break out any day now. Very bullish in terms of the stock market. NASDAQ as well, consolidating and grinding higher, which is what we've been talking about. So I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you very much for watching. Like I say, just to recap, Bitcoin, the key level for me is this 95,000 level. If we lose that 95,000 level, then I do expect possibility of a flush of this low we made earlier on this week down to around sort of between 87 and 90,000. Obviously, if we hold this level, then it's likely that if we can get above yesterday's high, we probably consolidate a bit higher into December and likely go for the breakout of 100,000. next month. And honestly, I think that happens really either way. I'm still very bullish here. My trading plan at the moment is just to hold positions. Obviously, I added a little bit to my leverage trades earlier on this week when Bitcoin came down towards 90,000. If that does happen again and we see some further weakness in altcoins, then I will be looking to position in a bit more into altcoins. I really like Solana here as well as a beta play to Bitcoin. It's outperformed the whole of this cycle, and I expect that to continue. Same with Ethereum. I still think Ethereum is going to catch up over the next few months to Bitcoin, as I explained. Based on its quarterly analysis, Ethereum should outperform in Q1 and Q2. So I'm going to leave it there. Thanks a lot for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day, whatever you're doing. Obviously, if you have enjoyed today's content, please do smash a like. There's going to be a lot more content coming up over the next few days. I've got some more analysis to bring you on Bitcoin in terms of where I think Bitcoin can go over the next year in terms of a cycle high. So I'll be sharing that video over the next couple of days, along with further updates on some of the altcoin positions I'm in. So please do subscribe if that sounds of interest to you. And yes, have a great day. I'll talk to you all again later. GM.